In this video we're going to talk very much about my own golf swing and how I avoid rushing the downswing. So lots of you are very kind when I sort of hit occasional shots during the videos, that you generally say relatively kind things about things like tempo and rhythm. And I'd probably suggest that if I went back to when I was playing golf, one of the things that I used to be quite good at was hitting, a decent amount of fairways, a decent amount of green regulation. And obviously on the days when I could knock a couple of putts in, would score well and generally would avoid racking up too many sort of high scores. And a lot of that was down to rhythm, as I kind of demonstrated on that one. So a couple of things that I wanted to emphasize in this video. The first thing, and this is something that I've actually sort of done more recently with a lot of online students, which has had a very, very profound effect. Distance. I don't try and hit the ball as far as I know I can, and by doing that and becoming efficient with things like the contact, it makes golf a lot easier. And I remember when I used to play golf really good, I never used to try and hit the ball overly hard either, and that's something that I've also suggested very recently to quite a few students. I've suggested to them to start clubbing up and reducing the temptation to sort of overswing and try and overhit it, and yeah, the results have been really good. So the first thing I would say is just don't try and hit it theoretically as hard as you possibly can, which is funny because I know that goes against the very strong narrative in golf at the moment, which is all about distance and speed training. And I'm sort of suggesting that maybe for most amateurs, unless you are really good at contact every time, really good at controlling where your ball's starting and really good at controlling your curvature, I'm not sure I'd fall down the narrative of trying to hit it as hard as you possibly can, because I think it would generally just make you hit it further into trouble. So that's the first thing. The second thing is sequence, okay, and that basically means there are 3 stages to my golf swing. There is a takeaway, which is roughly when the club travels to about 4 feet back. There is a recentering motion, which is the feeling of my weight progressively moving to my lead side at the top of the backswing, and then there is a sense of getting up and hitting the ball. So one of the things that I want you to be aware of is we need to make sure when we are going from the takeaway phase to the top of the backswing that I want you to almost feel like by the time you get to the top of your backswing position, you've got 50-50 weight between your lead toe and your trail heel. And that's going to be quite a big move. So that's going to be here, here, and that's the movement. So I'm going to kind of read a bit of a tempo out between 1, 2 and 3, okay? So what that means is I kind of get set up here. It's going to be like 1, 2, 3 in a tempo, and so I'll do it. So it goes 1, 2, 3, right, like so. And what you can see is that sort of second stage is quite a long movement towards that lead side. And what happens with a lot of golfers, they go 1, 2, and then they hit it from here. You've got to really fall. So 1, 2, 3. Can you see the way I'm really falling towards that lead side as I look to initiate that downswing? So it's 1, 2, 3, okay? So it's really, as soon as I've counted that 1, as I'm going in towards that 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, what's important when you do that is you maintain tilt, okay? So if you kind of go 1, 2, you're going to struggle because you're going to be really steep. You've got to make sure your lower body is always ahead of your upper body, because that basically then means that you're able to get that right shoulder down and hit it from the inside. So what I'm basically saying is there's a takeaway and there's a real sort of smooth action between there and that feeling of moving left, and then once I've landed on that kind of 50% lead toe, then I know I can just sort of get up and through the golf ball and allow my arms to hit it. I know there's a bit more detail to it than that, but in terms of not rushing the downswing, that's exactly what I'm sort of doing. So it's very much sort of 1, 2, 3, and if I kind of do that and you work on your tempo, then I don't play as much competitive golf as I'd like to, and I will, but having a young family and other commitments, it's sort of putting things in, stopping me from doing that at the moment. But I will get back out, and that's something that I definitely want to do as time grows on the channel. But when I do go out and play with customers and stuff, and golfers that I'm looking to teach, tempo and having recognition for those positions, which is 1, 2, 3, it gives me continuity of doing the same thing every time. So that's how I avoid rushing my downswing. I don't try and hit it as hard as I potentially can, and I work very much on those sort of stages and that tempo. You've got to move way more left than you realise. See you soon.